There's something most people never understand about success. They think it works like this. You try something. You see results. Then you believe it works. First the proof, then the belief. First the evidence, then the confidence. First the outcome, then the faith. This seems logical. This seems rational. This seems like how intelligent people should think. But it's completely backward. Every significant achievement in human history began the opposite way. First came belief. Then came action. Then came results. The belief existed before any proof. The confidence preceded any evidence. The faith came first, and the outcome followed. Not sometimes, always, without exception. This is the pattern. This is the sequence. And if you don't understand this, if you're waiting for results before you believe, you'll wait your entire life and never see those results appear. Right now, you have dreams you're not pursuing, goals you're not working toward, possibilities you're not exploring. And if I asked you why, you'd give me logical reasons. I'm not sure it will work. I don't have proof it's possible. I need to see evidence first. I'm being realistic. I'm being smart. I'm waiting for the right signs. But here's the truth. You're not being realistic. You're being paralyzed. You're not being smart. You're being trapped. You're not waiting for the right signs. You're waiting for certainty that will never come, because certainty doesn't precede success. Belief does. And until you understand this distinction, until you grasp why belief must come before results and not after, you'll remain stuck watching others achieve what you only dream about. Today, I'm going to show you something that will change how you see everything. I'm going to reveal why belief isn't what you think it is, why doubt is destroying your potential in ways you don't recognize, and most importantly, how to develop the kind of unshakable inner certainty that makes achievement inevitable. Not hopeful, not hopeful, not possible. Let me start with a question that will expose where you actually stand. Think of something you want to achieve, something significant, something that would change your life. Do you believe right now with absolute certainty that you will achieve it? Not hope, not wish, not think it's possible. Do you believe it with the same certainty you believe the sun will rise tomorrow? If you hesitated, if there was any doubt in your mind, that hesitation is the reason you haven't achieved it yet. Not lack of talent, not lack of opportunity, not circumstances. That doubt, that uncertainty, that waiting for proof before you fully commit your belief. That's what's stopping you. Most people think doubt is intelligent. They think questioning is smart. They think skepticism protects them from disappointment. And in some contexts, this is true. But when it comes to your own potential, your own goals, your own future, doubt is not protection. It's poison. It doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you small. Here's what people misunderstand about belief. They think it's wishful thinking. They think it's denying reality. They think it's pretending something is true when evidence suggests otherwise, so they reject it. They pride themselves on being realistic, on seeing things as they are, on not fooling themselves. But belief isn't denial. It's not wishful thinking. It's not pretending. Belief, real belief, the kind that creates results, is something entirely different. It's disciplined expectation. It's a mental posture you adopt deliberately and maintain consistently. It's a decision about how you will think, regardless of current circumstances. And it's the most powerful force available to you for shaping your future. Let me explain why doubt feels so logical yet produces such limited results. Doubt says, show me the evidence and then I'll believe. This sounds reasonable. But here's the problem. If you won't believe until you see evidence, you won't take the actions that create evidence. And if you don't take those actions, evidence never appears. So your doubt becomes self-fulfilling. It feels like wisdom. It feels like you're being careful. But it's actually ensuring the very outcome you claim to want to avoid. Belief works differently. Belief says, I will act as if this is certain, and through my actions, I will create the evidence. This sounds risky. It sounds like you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But here's what actually happens. When you believe before evidence appears, you take actions doubt would prevent. You persist when doubt would make you quit. You see opportunities doubt would blind you to. And through this different way of acting, you create outcomes that seemed impossible to those who waited for proof. Faith is not blind. Real faith, the kind that builds fortunes and changes lives, is not ignorant optimism. It's disciplined expectation reinforced through repetition and action. It's choosing to focus your mind on the outcome you intend, regardless of current circumstances. It's training your thoughts the way an athlete trains their body, deliberately, consistently, with clear purpose. Let me tell you about a man who understood this principle better than almost anyone. His name was Colonel Harlan Sanders. You know him as the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. But what you might not know is the story of how belief sustained him through circumstances that would have destroyed anyone operating on logic alone. At age 65, Sanders was broke. His restaurant had failed when a new highway diverted traffic away from his location. He had nothing, just a Social Security check of $99 a month and a recipe for fried chicken he believed was exceptional. Most people in this situation would accept their circumstances, would think, well, I tried. It didn't work out. Time to accept reality. Sanders did something different. Despite having no evidence that anyone would want his recipe, despite being 65 years old with no money and no prospects, despite every logical reason to give up, Sanders believed, not hoped, not wished, believed with absolute certainty that his chicken recipe would make him wealthy. He got in his car and started driving to restaurants across the country. He would cook his chicken for restaurant owners and ask them to buy his recipe and pay him a small percentage of sales. The first restaurant said no. The second said no. The 10th said no. The 100th said no. Sanders heard no over 1,000 times. 1,000 rejections. 1,000 pieces of evidence that his belief was wrong. His idea wouldn't work. His recipe wasn't special. But Sanders' belief didn't waver, not because he was delusional, but because he had decided what he believed, and he refused to let circumstances change that belief. He knew his chicken was good. He knew people would love it if they tried it. He knew he would succeed. Not might succeed, would succeed, and he acted from that certainty. Finally, after more than 1,000 rejections, someone said yes, then another, then another. Within a few years, Sanders had franchised his recipe across the country. By the time he sold the company, Kentucky Fried Chicken was worth millions. Sanders became wealthy, not in his 20s when belief is easy, not in his 40s when evidence might have encouraged him. In his 60s and 70s, sustained purely by belief that preceded any evidence. Now contrast Sanders with another story. A young man I'll call Michael. Michael was talented, genuinely gifted at graphic design. He had natural ability that others noticed immediately. People told him constantly that he should start his own design business. He'd be successful. He had what it took. Michael thought about it. He wanted to believe he could succeed. But he also had doubts. What if clients didn't hire him? What if he couldn't make enough money? What if he failed? These seemed like reasonable concerns. So Michael decided he would start his business, but he'd be smart about it. He'd wait until he had absolute certainty it would work. He researched. He planned. He created sample work. He built a portfolio. He learned about marketing. He did everything right except one thing. He never fully believed he would succeed. In the back of his mind, doubt persisted. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm making a mistake? Michael finally launched his business, but his doubt shaped how he launched it. He told potential clients he was just starting out, just testing the waters, just seeing if this might work. He underpriced his services because he doubted their value. He hesitated to reach out to potential clients because he doubted they'd be interested. He second-guessed every decision because he doubted his judgment. Within 6 months, Michael shut down his business. He told people it just didn't work out. The market wasn't right. The timing was bad. But the truth was simpler. His doubt had sabotaged him from the beginning. Not through lack of effort. Michael worked hard. But doubt weakened every action he took. It showed in his voice when he spoke to clients. It showed in his pricing. It showed in his hesitation. And potential clients felt that doubt and responded accordingly. Today, Michael works for someone else. He's still talented, but his talent is building someone else's vision instead of his own. Why? Because he never developed the belief necessary to sustain him through the uncertainty of building something new. What's the difference between Sanders and Michael? Not talent. Michael had more natural ability in his field than Sanders did in his. Not opportunity. Michael lived in a time with more resources and easier access to markets than Sanders ever had. Not circumstances. Sanders faced objectively worse circumstances than Michael. The difference was belief. Sanders believed with absolute certainty before any evidence appeared. Michael waited for evidence before he would fully believe. Sanders' belief created persistence that eventually produced evidence. Michael's doubt created hesitation that guaranteed failure. Same process. Opposite approaches. Completely different outcomes. This is the pattern throughout all achievement. The mind moves the body before circumstances change. Your internal state precedes your external results. What you believe shapes what you attempt. What you attempt shapes what you achieve. If you won't believe until circumstances change, circumstances never will change. But if you believe first, you create the actions that change circumstances. Let me show you exactly how this works and why most people never grasp it. First, understand that your mind is not neutral. It's not an objective observer that simply records reality. Your mind is a filter that shapes what you perceive and how you interpret it. Two people can experience identical circumstances and see completely different realities based solely on what they believe. When you believe something is possible for you, your mind scans the environment for opportunities to make it happen. You notice resources others miss. You see possibilities others overlook. You interpret setbacks as temporary obstacles rather than permanent barriers. Your belief literally changes what you perceive. When you doubt, your mind does the opposite. It scans for threats, for reasons why things won't work, for evidence that confirms your doubt. You miss opportunities because you're not looking for them. You interpret setbacks as proof you were right to doubt. Your doubt shapes your perception in ways that make your doubt seem justified. This is why two people with identical talent and opportunity can produce radically different results. The one who believes sees a different world than the one who doubts, not because the world is different, but because their minds are filtering reality differently based on their beliefs. Second, doubt weakens action even when effort continues. This is subtle but critical. You can work hard while doubting. You can take action while being uncertain, but doubt contaminates the quality of your action. It makes you tentative. It makes you hesitant. It makes you inconsistent. Think about approaching someone you're attracted to. If you believe they'll be interested, you approach with confidence. Your body language is open. Your voice is steady. Your conversation flows naturally. But if you doubt they'll be interested, everything changes. Your body tenses. Your voice wavers. Your conversation becomes forced. Same action approaching someone. Completely different execution based purely on belief or doubt. This applies to everything. When you believe you'll succeed in business, you present your services confidently. When you doubt, your presentation lacks conviction. When you believe you'll achieve your goal, you persist through obstacles. When you doubt, you quit at the first major setback. The action continues temporarily, but it lacks the quality and consistency that produces results. Third, belief conditions your decision-making in ways you don't consciously recognize. Every day, you make hundreds of small decisions. Which opportunity to pursue? Which conversation to have? Which action to take first? Which person to reach out to? These decisions seem minor, but accumulated over time, they determine your trajectory. When you believe in your outcome, you make decisions that align with that outcome. You say yes to opportunities that move you forward. You invest time in activities that build toward your goal. You connect with people who can help. These decisions feel natural. You're not consciously thinking, I need to decide this way because I believe. You just naturally decide in ways that serve your belief. When you doubt, your decisions shift. You say no to opportunities because they seem risky. You avoid activities that might confirm your doubt. You stay comfortable instead of stretching. And over time, These small decisions compound into a life that looks nothing like what you claim you want. Fourth, repetition impresses belief into your subconscious mind. Your conscious mind might understand that something is possible, but your subconscious mind, which controls most of your behavior, only accepts what it hears repeatedly. This is why affirmations work when done correctly, not because words have magic power, but because repetition programs the subconscious. Think about learning to drive. Initially, every action required conscious thought. Check mirror, press brake. Turn wheel, signal. But after enough repetition, driving became automatic. Your subconscious took over. You now drive without thinking consciously about each action. Repetition impressed the skill into your subconscious. Belief works the same way. You can't just decide once to believe something and expect your subconscious to accept it. You must repeat it daily, multiple times daily, with emotion and conviction. You must impress the belief into your subconscious through consistent repetition until it becomes automatic, until your subconscious accepts it as truth and begins generating thoughts and actions aligned with that belief. Fifth, faith strengthens through controlled thought and action. Most people think belief is something you either have or don't have. Either you believe or you doubt. Either you have faith or you don't. But this is wrong. Belief is a skill. Faith is a capacity. And like any skill or capacity, it strengthens through practice. You strengthen faith by deliberately choosing what you think about, by refusing to entertain doubt, by consciously redirecting your mind when it wanders toward worry or fear. This isn't denial. You're not pretending problems don't exist. You're choosing which thoughts you will focus on. You're exercising control over your mental diet. You also strengthen faith through action. Every time you act despite doubt, you prove to yourself that you can. Every time you persist despite setbacks, you reinforce your belief. Every time you do what your goal requires, even when you don't feel like it, you're training faith. Action and belief reinforce each other in an upward spiral. Now, here's something that will disturb you if you're paying attention. Doubt is canceling your progress right now. In this very moment, even when your actions appear correct on the surface, you might be working toward your goal, taking action, showing up, doing the work. From the outside, you look committed, but internally doubt is whispering. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm wasting my time? What if I'm not good enough? And these whispers, these small moments of internal doubt, are quietly destroying the effectiveness of your efforts. This is why two people can take identical actions and produce different results. One acts with belief, the other acts with doubt. Same actions. Different internal state, different results, because the internal state affects the quality, consistency, and persistence of the action in ways that aren't obvious but are absolutely determinative. You can't succeed at a high level while doubting internally. You might achieve modest results. You might make some progress. But you'll never reach your potential. You'll never build significant wealth. You'll never create extraordinary outcomes. Because doubt acts like a ceiling. It limits what's possible for you. This is why developing unshakable belief isn't optional. It's not just helpful, it's essential. Without it, you're working with a built-in limitation that guarantees underachievement. With it, you remove the ceiling and allow your full potential to express itself. So how do you develop this belief? How do you train faith deliberately when everything in your current circumstances might suggest doubt is more logical? Let me give you a precise process. First, identify one outcome you choose to believe in fully. Not 10 outcomes. One. What is the single most important result you want to create? Be specific. Not I want to be successful, but I will build a business generating specific revenue by a specific date. Not I want to be wealthy, but I will accumulate specific net worth within a specific time frame. Write this outcome as a statement of fact. Not I hope. Not I wish. Not I want. I will. I am. This is happening. State it as if it's already decided, as if the outcome is inevitable and you're just waiting for time to catch up with the decision. Second, monitor and correct your internal dialogue daily. Most people have no idea what they're telling themselves all day. Their internal dialogue runs on autopilot. And for most people, that autopilot is negative. doubting, worrying, rehearsing problems. Start paying attention. What are you telling yourself about your goal, about your ability, about your chances? When you notice doubt, interrupt it immediately. Don't argue with it. Don't analyze whether it's valid. Just interrupt it and replace it with your belief statement. This isn't denying reality. It's controlling what you allow your mind to focus on. Do this every single time doubt appears. Initially, it will feel forced, fake, like you're lying to yourself. That's normal. You're reprogramming patterns that have been running for years. It feels unnatural at first, but persist. Over time, it becomes automatic. Your default internal dialogue shifts from doubt to belief. Third, use repetition to reinforce expectation. Every morning when you wake, state your belief, out loud if possible, with emotion, with conviction, not as empty words, as genuine declaration. Feel what it will feel like when this outcome is real. Visualize yourself experiencing it. Make it vivid. Make it real in your mind. Every evening before sleep, do the same. Why? Because the moments just after waking and just before sleep are when your subconscious is most receptive. Repetition during these windows programs your subconscious more effectively than any other time. But don't stop there. Throughout the day, whenever you have a few moments, repeat your belief statement silently. Waiting in line, driving, between tasks, constant repetition. You're impressing this belief into your subconscious through sheer volume of repetition. Fourth, act consistently as if success is inevitable. This is where belief becomes real. What would you do if you knew with absolute certainty your goal would be achieved? What actions would you take? What decisions would you make? What would you stop hesitating about? Do those things now. Act as if the outcome is certain. Not because you're pretending, but because you've decided to believe, and belief requires corresponding action. If you believe you're building a successful business, you act like a successful business owner acts. You make decisions with confidence. You invest in your growth. You present yourself professionally. You don't wait until success arrives to act successful. You act successful now, and success follows. This isn't fake it till you make it. That phrase misses the point. This is believe it till you see it. You adopt the beliefs and behaviors of the person who has already achieved what you're working toward. You close the gap between who you are and who you need to become by acting from your future self rather than your current circumstances. Fifth, remove influences that feed doubt and hesitation. Pay attention to what you consume mentally. What you read, what you watch, who you spend time with, what you listen to. If it feeds doubt, eliminate it or minimize it drastically. This might mean limiting time with certain people, not because you don't care about them, but because their doubt is contagious. It might mean turning off news that generates fear and uncertainty. It might mean being selective about what content you consume. Replace doubt-feeding inputs with belief-strengthening inputs. Read biographies of people who achieved what seemed impossible. Listen to content that reinforces possibility. Spend time with people who believe in you and in big visions. Deliberately curate your mental environment to support belief rather than undermine it. These 5 practices are not suggestions. They're requirements if you want to develop the level of belief that produces extraordinary results. You can't do some of them. You must do all of them, consistently, daily, until belief becomes as natural and automatic as breathing. Here's what happens when you do this. Initially, nothing changes externally. Your circumstances look the same. This discourages most people. They think, see, this belief stuff doesn't work, but they're measuring the wrong thing. The change happens internally first. Your confidence increases. Your decisions sharpen. Your actions become more consistent. Your persistence strengthens. Then, after some time, external results begin appearing. Small at first. A breakthrough, an opportunity, a connection. People start responding differently to you, not because you changed what you're doing, but because you changed how you're doing it. Your belief changed your energy, your presence, your conviction, and people respond to that. Then results compound. What started as small wins becomes bigger wins. Momentum builds. Opportunities multiply. Things that seemed difficult become easier, not because the tasks changed, but because you changed. Your belief created a different version of you, and that version produces different results. This is how every significant achievement happens. First the internal shift, then the external manifestation. First the belief, then the evidence. Always in that order, never reversed. So let me ask you directly, what do you believe about your potential, about your future, about your ability to create what you want? Do you believe with certainty? Or are you waiting for proof before you commit your belief? Because here's the final truth. Results follow conviction, not the other way around. If you wait for results to believe, you'll never see results. But if you believe first, if you commit your mind fully to the outcome you intend, if you act from that belief consistently, results become inevitable. Belief is a decision, not a reaction. You don't develop belief by waiting for circumstances to inspire it. You develop it by deciding what you will believe, and then disciplining your mind to maintain that belief regardless of circumstances. The mind accepts what it hears repeatedly. This is not opinion. This is how your subconscious works. If you repeatedly tell yourself something is possible, your subconscious accepts it and begins working to make it happen. If you repeatedly doubt, your subconscious accepts that too and generates thoughts and behaviors consistent with doubt. You are in control, not of circumstances, not of what happens to you, but of what you believe, and what you believe determines what you attempt. What you attempt determines what you achieve. Change your belief and you change your life. Not eventually, immediately. The moment your belief shifts, your trajectory shifts. Certainty is not something you're born with. It's not something lucky people have and others don't. It's a skill you develop through practice, through repetition, through deliberate thought control, through acting despite doubt. You train it the way you train any other skill, deliberately, consistently, with clear intent. So decide right now, what will you believe? What outcome will you commit your faith to fully? And what will you do today to reinforce that belief? Not what will you think about doing. What will you actually do? Because thinking about belief accomplishes nothing. Deciding to believe and then training your mind to maintain that belief through repetition and action, that changes everything. That's the difference between those who achieve extraordinary things and those who just think about achieving them. You have everything you need. The only question is whether you'll use it, whether you'll commit, whether you'll believe before evidence appears. The power is yours. The choice is yours. The future is yours, but only if you believe it first.